Hi, welcome to A Punk with Toys. My name is Lawrence, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Delta-17, the OKAMI, the enemy robot ninja. Now, this is the last of the figures that I haven't reviewed. I reviewed them in different ways. The first review that I did, it was 3 figures. I also did last year after Joe Fest. I did the 3 figures that I got. I think it was 3 figures. One being the Red OKAMI, which was the Joe Fest exclusive. One was their leader, and I don't know who the other one was. So if you go and you look at the catalog of Delta-17, you're not going to see a one-for-one like you do with my classified. But I do want to get as many of these out there just to help with the company that, you know, they're doing a wonderful job, Steve and Ken. So anyway, we're going to take a look at this. This is the last one. This is available. You can go to their website, which I will drop a link to it in the description. There are other ways to get it, I believe BBTS, but you're going to pay a little more if you go to BBTS. That's all that I'm going to say about that. And I know there are other avenues of people that have sold them. Hello Dope Toys at one time did. So anyway, we're going to take a look at this guy. I've rambled on a lot, but you know how I am. So anyway, here you can see him. This is an army builder. They are robot ninjas. There is the actual figure right there. You can see all of his accessories and what he looks like. On the back, you've got the cross-sell of the villains right there. Here are all the bad guys. Here are all the good guys. And there are 2 different factions of bad guys, along with a file card that is only in 1 language. This isn't Hasbro. They're not mandated to do 5 language. So anyway, let's get into this. We're going to take a look at it, open this thing up, so we can see if this thing is worth you spending your money on. I really like the Delta-17, so I'm going to say it is, but you need to decide on your own. But before we do, if you like this type of stuff, you like when I give you the Delta-17, please take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a Delta-17 review. Alright, so here we go with everything, and I always like to start off with the accessories first. So with every Delta-17 figure, you are going to get a stand. It says Delta-17 on it. It's still rectangular, but it's closer to square. You do have a peg right there, and they do fit on perfectly fine, as they should, and they stay on pretty good. But I know a lot of people wonder, how do these things fit on a G.I. Joe class or G.I. Joe O-ring? Well, they fit on pretty nicely. They don't have to worry about the heel. Now, I will say this, some of the figures, they just kind of slide right up and they come right off. This guy, I don't have a problem with him. All right, so they don't break out the heel. That is a huge issue when it comes to O-ring stuff. So just be careful. If Ken or Steve are watching, I think you guys would be really, really good to produce a whole bunch of these in a bag, just like you did for your weapons. All right. As for the weapons that we're going to get, quickly we'll take a look at his backpack. And as you look here, it's going to plug directly into the back here. And there's really nothing on here per se, other than a bunch of slots. All right, so you have a slot for his 2 different swords, for his other sword, for his hands, and also for his gun. All right. Delta-17 does a wonderful job trying to make sure that everything can be carried on their person. All right. As for the accessories, he is a robotic ninja. So here is one of the swords. They're the exact same. It's got the long handle, which you can clearly see the different grooves in it, so you can hold it. It's got the guard. Then you can look at the blade of it. All right, it is fairly sharp. It is going to poke you, so be careful if you give this to a child. It is nice and straight, and it's not rubberized like a lot of other weapons that we've seen in recently. This here is his robotic sword. This is going to plug onto his hand. All right, again, same thing, pretty sharp. It has a nice blade, so it's not dull. It does look nice, and it's just going to plug directly onto him the same way that the bats did for the G.I. Joe. You probably wonder why I have 3 of those. Matter of fact, I was wondering why I had 3, and I'll explain that in a minute. So here's his gun. All right, it's got the long barrel, looks like a suppressor. You got the magazine. None of the magazines drop out, and there are no blast effects. Again, these are O-rings, which means they are a 3.75 1/18 scale. It has a grip here, so any figure can hold it if you want, but it also has a port here, so you can plug his arm into it, and he can be used the same way that the bat, how the bat uses his stuff there. And then on the back here, you can see the dog bone that's going to plug into the backpack. And we'll get into that when it's time to arm him up. As for the figure itself, here he is. So he has like this little antenna at the top, which I think does look pretty cool. Again, this is how it's going to radio stuff. I don't really know the backstory about these figures. Looking here, this is how he's going to see out. It looks like he has some sort of, maybe an optical sensor right here. Maybe it shoots a red laser, so if he's tied down, he can target something. There's your regular, like your Cyclops, I guess, goggles right there. Paint looks really good. You have the gray here, you have the red, you have the black over it. What here I would say is some sort of comm system. You got a little dot right here. Again, he's a robotic ninja. That's an oxymoron if I've ever heard it, but again, they're toys. They're supposed to be. Here's the back piece. You can see kind of the little rivets right there that's holding this all together. And then you just have some sort of shoulder guards right up here. Down here, it has 5 different spikes. I don't know what those are, nor do I know what this is. But looking at the detail, it does look real nice. So here's your like bandolier, kind of going all the way down. Now where does it go? Who knows? It looks like it wraps up underneath here. Maybe it actually ties to this belt, which is kind of like a ninja belt. Seems kind of weird that would tie into it, but whatever. They're toys. All right. On his bicep here, you can see this kind of little wrinkles here, some sort of guard in my opinion. He has these gauntlets, and then he has these nice classic hands, which do look very robotic, right? So I think those do look nice. All right, as we get down here, he has 3 throwing stars, a side that is all sheathed in there, and the same on this side. So he's carrying around, 6 throwing stars in 2 different sizes. So anyone that's going to do 6-inch customs, that's something that you need to look at. Tony's Figs, I'm talking to you. Then you have your knee pads, and then you have your ninja style into robotic boots, which I think is actually kind of funny. All right, as for the detail on this figure, I mean the articulation, he can look down, and then he can look straight, and then he kind of looks side to side, right? There's his T-pose. Really never going to have a problem with a T-pose on an O-ring. Swivels at the shoulder, 90-degree elbows right there, and like most modern O-ring figures, they swivel right there at the wrist. He turns side to side. He is an O-ring. If you're wondering what an O-ring is, right there, that ring right there, that rubber band, that's why it's called an O-ring. It's shaped like an O. As for Jean-Claude Van Damme, he can go this far. All right, and then for him to sit, he only goes this far. This was an issue with a lot of the earlier Delta-17 figures. This is something that they have worked to rectify. If you change out the T-bar, it tends to work pretty good, right? But you do have to put a little bit of work into it. But they know about it, and they went and they did some work on it. As for the knees, there you go, 90 degree. So, to arm this guy up, you can take your backpack. There's how the backpack goes on. You're going to have, I think these ones actually drop down like this. So let's go like that. I could be wrong. I guess technically you could use them, but actually no, I take it back. These are supposed to go this way because they plug in like that. Then the swords will slide down in through here, and they stay in there pretty well. And this is something a lot of the O-ring companies are doing. A lot of them are doing this. They're making sure everything can store on their person. I know Skeletron does it. Delta-17. If Skeletron's doing it, I'm assuming Toss Line Longbow and Operation Recall are going to do the same thing. So that's him completely armed up. This piece does come off. So if you wanted to have him just as a regular ninja, you can plug that in like this, and you can still put the gun onto his back. All right. So this does show you that it's modular. It's meant so you can army build this, and you can also make all kinds of changes. But one of the big things that we're going to do here is we're going to keep this on here because it's kind of important. And that is, his arm does come off. First off, I'll show you the handgun or the submachine gun. He can hold it just like I mentioned, all the other figures can. But the other thing that he can do is when his hand comes off, he is robotic. And then I can plug into him. So he doesn't have to hold it if need be. All right. As for this here, he can also plug it on here so he can walk around with swords as hands. And then these things, which is your hands, can plug it directly into there and store. They look kind of stupid, but let's be honest, you're looking for storage. So why was this guy on the bat? Well, that is because I can remove this, and then if I want, I can use this. So not only can this be used for all kinds of other things, or it can be used for all things Delta-17, you can also make it work so the bat has new accessories if need be. And they did do an accessory pack. All right, so looking at all this, I can change things around, which means I should be able to take these and maybe plug them on. Kind of a tight fit, to be 100% honest. All right, so I'm not going to try and squeeze it because the last thing I want is this to break off into here, or split this maybe. But in theory, I should be able to get it on there. But more than anything, I don't think I'm going to be using anything classic over here. But I'm definitely thinking about, hey, how can I modify this guy? Now he only has one hand. You'd have to do some real major modification. If you wanted them to have two black hands, I think that would be actually pretty cool, to be 100% honest. But unfortunately, you can't do that. So, as you can see, now I'm actually missing one weapon here for the bat. So I just kind of put my extra accessory sword there. Get him to stand right there. All right. But we want to get these hands back on it. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of sword hands. I like what the bat does here because he's a full android. But even with having this gun, because of the length of it, it just kind of is, it's kind of bothersome to me. Maybe not to everyone else, and that's perfectly fine. That's why these are your toys. So there you go. That is your OKAMI. This is not the JoeFest exclusive, although I will leave at the end of this video a link to that one so you can check them out and see what the difference is. So there you go. All right, so there you go. That is your Delta-17 OKAMI, the robotic ninja. Is that what it was called? Hold on, wait, what's it called again? The yeah, enemy robot ninja. So there you go. Again, I've done the JoeFest exclusive for 2024. I've done their leader. A lot of the same accessories that come with it. I think maybe some of the buck is the same, but I know that the red OKAMI is the exact same figure, just painted differently for JoeFest. So anyway, there you go. There's a look at them. If you're interested, head on over. I'll leave a description I'll leave a link to Delta-17 in the description. So if you're interested in these O-rings, you haven't known where to get them, you finally said, hey, I watched your video, I watched your review, something I definitely want to get, it'll make it easy for you to get it. But I'm going to get out of here because you spent a lot of time with me, and I appreciate it more than you know. But please take a second, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you're notified every time I drop a Delta-17 video. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to leave you a link to the red OKAMI, and down here will be a playlist of all the Delta-17 stuff that I've done. Take care.